My first guest is a world-renowned psychic medium. He's an author, he's a spiritual life coach, just so happens to be a Rhode Island native and based in New England. He's a very interesting person, and I'm so excited to talk to him. I'd like to introduce Matt Fraser. Come on out, Matt. Hi.
Hi, it's great to be here with you.
Great to be here too. That smile, just sparkling. So nice to have you on the show. I was really looking forward to this. Obviously, you know, you are Rhode Island native, kind of based in Boston now, but you've been around. You're on like every show, and we're super happy to have you.
Well, it's great to be here. Yeah, I was actually born in Providence, but I lived in Cranston, Rhode Island my entire life.
Amazing.
Went to Cranston East until I moved up to Boston because my dad was the Boston Fire Commissioner.
Oh, cool.
But then, you know, there's a curse in Rhode Island. That curse is when you live here, or when you grow up here, I should say, no matter where you go in the world, you always end up back here.
That is true. I can actually agree with that. That happened to me. I was in LA for 10 years, now I'm back.
See that? It's
Sucks
everyone.
Right back in.
It's a Rhode Island thing. It doesn't matter where you travel to, no matter what country, what state, you always end up back in Rhode Island. It just happens.
A truer statement has never been made.
And my mom always says to me too, like when we hear that someone's moving to Florida or they go into California, she'll be like, they'll be back.
Yeah,
they'll be back.
it's true.
Give it a while, they'll be back. And then they are. It just happens.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I'm sure this is like the first question that everybody asks you, and that is, at what point did you realize that you had this gift?
So I want to say that I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I clearly remember that when I was just that young, I literally thought that I was being haunted because no matter where I went, I'd be, you know, seeing and hearing dead people. But it mainly happened when I went to bed at night. I remember that when I used to go into bed and I used to pull the covers over my head, I would be hearing the voices of the departed. And at first it started with my grandmother because she passed when I was just 3. So she was the first soul that I saw. When I would go to bed at night, she'd come in and talk to me as though she was still living. But then it was other souls that followed, and I was petrified. Have you ever seen the movie The Sixth Sense?
Yes, it's one of my favorite movies.
Okay, my favorite movie too. That and Ghost.
Yeah,
love those movies. So for me, it was just like being on that movie. It was like literally all I could see was the departed and hear voices and whispers.
So do you see them? And hear them, or?
So that's a good question because a lot of times people ask me, well, what's it like for you?
Yeah.
So for me, I see them, I hear them, and I feel them. But also I get visions as well. And if most people actually have experienced a vision, and it's actually a dream. So if you've ever had a vivid dream of a loved one, or you had a really crazy dream that maybe you saw that you were working somewhere, or that you were at a certain place and it felt as though it was real, that's what a vision is like for me. So it's amazing because when I was younger, I would always experience those and feel those things.
Wow. So, and you said that it did scare you initially. So when you talked to your family, what was their reaction? Because I'm a mother, and if my 3-year-old came up and told me that they were talking to dead people, I'd freak out.
See, so my family was different because my grandmother had the gift, who passed it on to my mom and then passed it on to me. So when I was younger and this was going on, instead of my mom coming in and being like, oh, you know, that's okay, come sleep with me and your dad tonight, or, oh my God, my son's hearing dead people, I'm gonna leave the light on for or the TV on for him, it was just the opposite. I was seeing and hearing dead people, and my mother was on the side of me going, what are they saying to you? Who is it? You know, talk to them, speak to them. So, you know, it was completely opposite. She was trying to get me to embrace it. Right. But because she was, I guess, so abrupt about it, I was scared. I was petrified. You know, I remember I tried to push it away for as long as I could possibly remember. And it wasn't until later on in my teens that I actually decided to pursue it.
It must have been... I mean, how were you able to avoid it? Did you just try to pretend like it wasn't happening?
That's exactly what I did. And it's funny because a lot of my friends that I was friends with at the time, I didn't even tell. I was trying so hard to erase it from my life. It's almost like when you have a bad photo and you try to bury it. You know, you delete it off your phone, you delete the negatives, you get rid of it. That's what it was like to me. You pretend like it don't exist. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to do, but it was just always there. It was always in the background. It was always, you know, a part of me. So even though I was able to calm it down a little bit, I was still hearing and sensing those spirits. So I missed my calling a little bit. I actually always knew that I felt drawn to doing something with helping others, but I wasn't sure what that was. So I actually started my career as an EMT, and I worked at the World Trade Center in Boston. Bet you didn't know there was a Boston World Trade
I
Center.
actually did.
Oh, you
but
did?
Some
Really?
people don't know that. Yes.
Most Rhode Islanders don't know that, because everyone's like, when I say Boston, they're like, New York? And I'm like, no, Boston, Boston. So I worked there for the Security Operations Department. And then from that moment, I decided that I wanted to look deeper into the ability that I had been pushing away for so long. So I actually went to go and see a medium for the first time myself. And it was incredible because at that moment, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. So I started reading for close friends and family members like my grandmother did. And then next thing you know, word traveled quickly in Cranston, Rhode Island about the one who could speak to the dead.
Yeah, I bet.
So I got asked to be on Fox News, the CBS Radio, and I've just been traveling the country doing this. And I had to leave my job as an EMT to pursue this full time.
Yeah, I mean, you're making this this gift of yours available to other people through all these different events that you do. You do a lot of group venue kind of, I've seen videos of kind of smaller groups. Now they're massive, venues that you're doing.
Well, no, they're really not massive. I try to keep, the thing is that I like it to be a group experience.
Right.
So all of my events are kept limited because I know that the people that are there are looking to hear a message. So whether it be Foxwoods, whether it be the Crown Plaza, whether it be the Radisson, we keep it to the same size. So every event is consistent. And the reason why is that this way I can get to as many people as possible. It's so much different. If you guys have ever been to a medium, and maybe you've seen it at like the PPAC or something like that, or seen a similar type of event, you've got to come to an event like this because it's so different. Instead of having people out in the audience, literally what I do is I have it set up like a group style where everyone's facing one another, and I don't use a stage. I walk up and down the rows, reading and reconnecting as many people as possible with their loved ones on the other side. And it's so different than what you see. It's not me sitting on stage being like, is there a John coming through? It's literally I go up to that person and say, I see a grandmother behind you, or your son departed, or this person's coming through. And that's basically how it is for me. It's message after message and reading after reading. And people love it. They love coming to these events because people have come up to me afterwards and said, Matt, this feels like a family reunion. Yeah. It doesn't feel like, going to Natalilo funeral home. It feels like, being back, right, it feels as though your loved one is right there with you.
Is it just like voices everywhere? How are you able to hone in on
everywhere? Like even when I'm saying next to you, I have a grandmother that's stepping forward that's with you from the other side that you are very close with.
Oh my gosh. Would you do a reading right now? I have more questions for you, but would you
do a reading? Yeah, there's a couple of different souls that I've actually passed around you. Okay. And what was the father figure that passed?
Not my father.
The father figure that took over as father.
I have a couple of grandfathers.
I wonder if that'd be, this was military man here in the physical world, because when I'm connecting with him, he's showing me that he served in the military.
Okay.
He actually shows me he had leg issues here in the physical when I'm connecting with him. And you know what's crazy is that he told me that there was questions over if he was gonna lose his leg, or if they're gonna keep his leg on. So I don't know if he had an infection or what exactly it was, but he's acknowledging that. Do you know who that would be?
A leg? I don't know about a leg. I don't know.
Because he's acknowledging that when I'm speaking to him. And I felt like the name was like Joseph when I'm connecting. There's a Joe.
There are some Joes in my family.
But even if you weren't close to them or you weren't connected, they would still come through. It's your grandmother who's the most prominent. But anytime that you lose somebody, whether they passed before you were born or whether they passed, with just in a few months or years, they would still be around you. Right. And even the souls that passed, that maybe you didn't have a direct connection with. So maybe like a friend's son who had departed. They can also come through with a reading, because when you're connecting with the other side, what happens is that people in heaven don't live in separate houses or don't drive separate cars. Everyone's just with one another. It's just a universal place where all of our loved ones are.
Yeah.
And your grandmother shows me that she's the number one person who watches over you from the other side. She's talking about the fact that she kept her illness a little bit of a secret here in the physical world because she was having multiple issues that were going on with her. And I heard that she didn't want to get everyone worried as to what was going on or what was happening. She talks about the fact that at the end, there was a lot of issues, keeps telling me about fluid buildup. Do you understand that? Because she talks about, I feel like I'm almost drowning when I'm connecting with her. But she actually keeps telling me that there was earrings that were kept of hers. So who has her earrings?
she did give her jewelry away.
Perfect.
To her granddaughters.
No, it's her way of acknowledging, and you're one of them, of course. So no, it's her way of just acknowledging that when you hold on to them and keep them, that she's with you right at that exact moment. She actually tells me that there's also recipes as well, because she showed me recipe books. So know that she wants you to use them, because she actually tells me you just moved or just changed residence. So no, it's her way of acknowledging that she wants you to do that as well. But she tells me that you sense her. Like, do you smell her around you? I keep smelling Gina Tay, but I'm standing right here.
That was exactly what she wore, yeah.
So know that when you smell that or when you connect with that, that's your grandmother's way of showing you that she's right here. Because a lot of times our loved ones come to us, for you sitting at home, it's not just through our dreams. They can come through us through different signs, whether you see, pennies on the ground and your dad was a coin collector, whether it be, feathers that you find coming down from heaven that means something to you, or whether it be a song on the radio or a familiar smell like your grandfather's Old Spice. There's always a way that they use to reach out to us, let us know that they're close by. And more importantly, it's about them letting us know that they're always around and that they're always there.
Are there ever days when you're like, okay, I just want to concentrate. Please leave me alone.
There are days like that, but to be honest with you, it's far and few in between where I can get away from the spirit world. It's always there. It's always a constant. It's almost like, the way I can describe it is if you were to go into a restaurant, and in the restaurant you're sitting there and you just, close your eyes for a minute and you're listening to all these people talking around you. That's what it's like for me. It's like constantly, voices that are here. So even though I'm in the studio with you, I'm also hearing, souls that are walking down the street in front of us, and souls that are in the next room over and things like that nature, because they're all here. So that's why the group readings are so amazing, is that the moment I walk into the room, I literally hear everybody's loved one that's in the room. So I'll have a grandmother over here pulling me over to talk to her granddaughter who didn't get to say goodbye. I'll have a father that's in the audience who's directing me to come over here to talk to his daughter who had to take him off of life support. I'll have a son that's stepping forward, that's trying to connect with his mother and show his mother that he's not dead, he's just different. So it's really amazing to see the stories and to watch just one by one each person hear a message that changes their life. It's life-changing for people. I
can only imagine what it's like, to go to one of these events and, be hoping that you would reach someone, a loved one of theirs, and then be able to get a reading, and I'm sure it is completely life-changing. One of the events that you're offering is a brand new thing. It's a 7-day cruise. Tell me about this. It sounds really cool.
So it is incredible because although I'm local to Rhode Island, from doing all of this, word travels quickly in today's age. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the internet that we have or just a different change in time. I know that we're in the midst of a global awakening where people are feeling their loved ones more and sensing their loved ones. So I'm so honored and blessed to literally have thousands of people around the world contact me. People from China, from Japan, I just did a reading from a woman in Ireland. So everyone's always saying to me, well, how can I learn to, develop my own gifts? Because I feel we're all psychic in one way or another. There's some people who were born with medium abilities, but maybe they've tuned them out and now they want to get back into it. And there's also people who want to connect with their loved ones. So I had an amazing opportunity where Holland America, which is a cruise line, contacted me and said, now, how about you do a spiritual retreat for 7 days on our cruise ship? Wow. We'll go to Turks and Caicos, to the Bahamas, to Key West, to all these different places. And yes, Key West is still there, for those of you wondering. I had a meeting. Everything is good. The repairs are going well. So I was like, that's a great idea. Yeah. Because sometimes, and as you were saying to me, well, how do you clear things out? How do you channel things? Well, sometimes I have to get away from the outside world to better tune into the other side. So we're doing the 7-day cruise. We're going to be taking everybody to all these different places, but having spiritual experiences at the same time. I'm going to be doing master classes on how to connect with your angels, how to connect with your higher self, your loved ones, doing group readings on board, and at the same time getting to meet everybody from all of these different cities, states, and locations. So it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to see everybody.
That's awesome. You were just talking about other people sort of tapping into their abilities. You wrote a book called The Secrets of Unlocking Your Psychic Abilities. So my question after reading just the title of the book is then, do you think that everyone sort of has some amount of psychic ability?
I do believe that. I know that we all have intuition. And your intuition is the feeling that you get that the phone's going to ring. And then next thing you know, it does. Or that feeling that you get where you haven't heard from somebody in years and years and years, and then next thing you know, they reach out to you or connect with you or just get a hold of you some way. That's your intuition talking. And it's the same way that we connect with our loved ones on the other side. Our loved ones use that same channel, not the television channel, but a channel that they use to reach us. It could be through a dream. It could be through a feeling. It could be through a sense. It could even be through a smell, like we talked about earlier. Any way that they can reach you, and any way that they can, kind of filter in and get your attention, they will. It's just up to us to be able to stay open to receiving the signs that they're sending to us.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, when the clock says 11:11, or people have their own sort of personal connections of when they see this certain thing, it makes them think of someone. So,
and I'm glad you said that, because that's what a sign is. A lot of people ask me, well, how do I know a sign is real? Or how do I know it's really my grandmother?
Right.
And the first thing I got to tell you is that if you do receive a sign, make sure that you pay attention to it and to listen to it, because the more that you're open to it, the more that you're able to receive more signs. When the other side sees that you write return to sender on the envelope and say, I'm not listening, I'm not paying attention, that can't possibly be my grandmother, that can't possibly be my uncle, that's like telling them that you're not open to it. So therefore they stop communicating. But when you open yourself up and you see those signs and you say, oh my God, I know that that's my grandmother, I know that that's my dad, that's like their way of showing you and showing you that they're there, but it's also your way of showing them that you're open to receiving. So the way that you know a sign is if it keeps on repeating. So when you keep seeing 11:11, 11:11, 11:11, no matter where you go, when you keep hearing that song, no matter where you go, just like I was telling you with your grandmother with the Gina Tay, I know that you didn't just smell it once. I know it's like multiple times and a lot of times they come to you when you're stressed or when you're worried. So it could be when you're in the car and you're stressing, and then all of a sudden you smell that smell and instantly you know, okay, grandma's here.
Yeah.
It could be after a loved one passes. It could be on your child's first day of school, and it's your grandmother's or your loved one's way of showing you that they're there with you through the milestone of your child's life. It can be anything.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love just talking about this because it is, like you said, a family reunion. Just bringing up the names and thinking about them is always like nice.
I love talking about this as well because, as many of the viewing audience probably knows, is that when my grandmother was alive, you could not talk about this. You were not allowed to talk about this. You couldn't talk about seeing signs or seeing dead people or connecting with the other side. It was kept so secret. My grandfather did not know my grandmother did this.
Wow.
And it's funny because when I started doing this, my grandfather had no idea what it was that I actually did. He used to ask me all the time, what's your job? What is it that you do? And I'm like, Poppy, I'm a medium. Like, grandma medium?
This is what I do.
This is what I do. So then he's like, oh yeah, medium. And then people used to come up to him and they used to say to him, oh, I'm going to see your grandson tomorrow night. He's got an event coming up at Foxwoods. And he used to say to them, oh yeah, you need to go. My grandson, he's amazing. He's fantastic. He's some type of a comedian. This is what you should tell people. You should think medium was comedian. So, and it's just because of, he had that experience of watching my grandmother keeping it so secret, that he was the same way.
I'm sure you get this question a lot, but what do you say to people who are skeptical of you?
I love the skeptical ones. And, I think that, the best thing for skeptics to do is to expose yourself to it. I feel the number one person who would best benefit from coming to my group reading or best benefit by a reading is the person who never walks through the door. Because there's people out there who actually believe that your loved ones aren't with you. They believe that, after you die, you cease to exist. And that's what I'm hoping my event shows people. I want my event to show people that there's so much more to life than what's here in the physical world. That you're not alone. Your loved ones are with you every day. And more importantly, goodbye is not goodbye. It's just, I'll see you later. Imagine if you just thought of someone who had passed away as just moving to another country. We don't get upset when somebody moves to another country. We might not hear from them or connect with them or see them, but we're not upset because we know that they're okay.
Right.
And we know that they have peace. Whereas when somebody dies, we mourn it like it's a permanent goodbye.
Right.
And it's not. It's just, I'll see you later. No matter how long you're here on Earth, whether it be you're here 100 years or 120 years, if you live to be that old, it's a short amount of time. Because, here in this world, it's not permanent. It's nothing here is permanent. When you go to the other side, that's where we're meant to reside and meant to start the rest of our journey.
Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to know more about the events that Matt has to offer, you can go to meetmattfraser.com. Maybe sign up for that cruise. Sounds pretty cool to me.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great experience.
I bet it would be. Thank you so much for being here today, Matt. It was awesome to have